Welcome everybody to this quick review of week 1 of the Digital Marketing MOOC from the University of Southampton. And I'm here in the University of Southampton with a group of tutors and students who've been eagerly consuming the MOOC this week. And we'd just like to reflect back just a few of the things that have really stood out for us and hopefully take a few of your questions as well. So perhaps I could start with you, Adel. Can you tell us a little bit about how you found this first week?
Yes, well, I'll talk about the style of the MOOC itself. I like how it's easy to understand, and it sort of teaches us how to write our own blogs, because we have to maintain our own blogs, and I like how they break up the paragraphs in a blogging, casual, personal writing style, and I think that's important to embrace, especially since we're starting off our blogs. Recently we just started it, so.
Okay, thank you. And how have you found this first week?
I got the clear definition of digital marketing. Well, in the past, when I introduced my discipline to my friends, they always say it is actually e-commerce, but actually it's not. It is digital marketing is using social network to communicate with customers. This clear definition is really helpful.
Yeah, it's a lot more than just e-commerce, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, and you've just arrived.
Yeah.
So literally just arrived. You're really looking forward to the course?
Yeah.
Good. And why did you choose this programme?
Because I think the marketing domain is undergoing quite huge changes. So people are communicating using different softwares instead of face-to-face communications. But marketing is all about communication. So if we are not familiar with this kind of new mode, we will be dropped out of the market. We cannot establish good relationship with customers. Then we might lose business in corresponding industries. So yeah, that's the reason why I chose this course.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for volunteering for this at such short notice. Well done.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Mike, perhaps I could ask you to say a few words.
I thought I'd talk a little bit about the content that we've seen and the discussions and things that people have picked up in the discussions. Storytelling is always popular, and it's interesting how many people sort of say they've never really thought of marketing as telling a story. And I've noticed within the group of students as well, this idea of storytelling is established. So it's quite interesting that that's a thing that changes people's view. And from that also came the idea of emotions. And I think I made the point that one of the problems with digital media is we often focus on what can be measured easily, and therefore we measure behaviour and we measure clicks and hits and things like that. And that can distract us from the emotional engagement we can get with consumers that particularly comes through social media and increasingly video and things like this. So it's quite interesting that people picked up on that idea of the story and telling an emotional story. I found in the past that there was some controversy over my complaints about the potential ethics, and that always seems to kind of bring people out in a kind of polarised view, with some people being quite supportive of digital marketing and saying, oh, you're overstating this is scaremongering, and others kind of saying, yeah, there probably are some ethics here that we need to think about more. And I think getting people to think about the ethics of what they do, as well as what can I do now and how can I make it work and how can I sell stuff, is quite an important part of the education process. And I think something that the MOOC didn't really deal with so much this week, but made me think, is how many people were asking for practical examples, and practical examples for small medium enterprise. And I think this is a real problem, because the internet was meant to be a kind of democratic space where all companies were equal. In fact, what is clear is that it is not. And even when it comes to things like social media, small businesses need help and support and need to find effective strategies. And that kind of made me think, is that if we develop content, how would we deal with issues of small business and social media use? That was it from me.
Okay, and I'd like to challenge all the students here in the room to find us some good examples, particularly from small companies, that they think are using digital marketing really well, and to actually post those examples in the MOOC with this video, and that would be really helpful, I think, for everybody to gather those things together in one place and share them.
Yeah, the camera's probably wondering why we're looking this way. There's a massive lecture theatre full of students. What you could do, of course, is write about this in your blog, so you can write in detail, and then post the link to your blog on the MOOC as a resource for people. That would work quite well, I think. Yeah,
that'd be great. Okay, does Anybody want to say anything else that they think would be interesting or amazing at this point?
Yeah, because Matt just mentioned ethical principles and things. So, Mike, do you think the digital marketing improved the integrity of marketing or deteriorated the integrity?
I don't want to answer questions like that. I think there is some clear bad practice.
Yeah.
There is some controversies over the use of people's data that are unresolved. We don't know whether this is acceptable or not. But there is clearly a role for considering ethics. Actually, I've just written a chapter in a book called Digital Corporate Social Responsibility, and there we say that is the domain of corporate social responsibility naive when it comes to digital media, and do we therefore need to kind of incorporate aspects of how we use digital media in what might be a responsible organisation? So I think it's just an area that we're just the sufficient adoption that we need to think about what are the ethics of using these tools.
And I also want to share some my experience about reading comments. There is a video you post in the very first part of the first week, and the quality of that video was terrible, and it was long, and well, English is not my first language, so it is really hard for me to understand that. Kindly, some people just write the transcript in the comment, so I can read them. I can check my dictionary and understand it. And I find that discussion was very interesting and useful.
Great, thank you. One thing we should raise just before we finish is we had a question about the role of emotions in digital marketing raised by a gentleman called Antonio, and I said I would pose it to you.
Yeah, I mean, I replied to the post then. I think it was a really good issue, and lots of my research has been about emotions. My answer was I'm suspicious of some of the kind of neuroscience that I think he was drawing on, but I think there is a broader aspect of emotions, and it fits better with the idea of stories. But there are also ethics here that you touched on, and one of the examples I gave in the MOOC was, Facebook make a judgment about your emotions. I think this is also why they've introduced moods, because that becomes a metric that they can use to judge the emotional response to things. Now, why do we suppose they do that? Well, because they want to sell your emotional responses to advertisers. And what we already know that they do is that if you say something negative, it's much less likely to be distributed to your network than if you say something positive. And the reason for that is that advertisers want to advertise against positive things, not negative things. So Facebook are manipulating the emotional territory of Facebook for purposes of marketing, and we'd say, is this ethical? The broader answer is there is all sorts of work now being done to measure emotions. A few years ago I was involved with a system that used a webcam to film people and make judgments of their emotions based on their facial expressions, based on Ekman's work. And if you think of that, the idea is that retail sites will ask permission to use your webcam, to access your webcam, and then they will try and judge whether you look happy as a result of an offer or sad as a result of an offer, and make all sorts of different offers to you in real time based on their reading of your reaction, your emotive reaction to the advertising. And you think from an advertising point of view that's great, but are we happy to surrender our webcams to retailers for the purpose of them manipulating our emotions? So I think this is a great area to open up. I mean, it's a relatively new area for research, I think. And again, if you think of the way we understand the internet, the things that can be measured, which is largely behaviour, clicks, views, time spent on site, that kind of thing, have been the focus. And now we're looking to add value through data by trying to understand and work with users' emotions.
Great, and I think that will give plenty of scope for further discussions within the MOOC. So I look forward to seeing all of the examples and contributions. I think we should end there. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Time to get on with your class.